What's up, Hoof listeners? Welcome to the Week 13 preview on the Hoof Podcast. Week 13 already. Hard to believe.
Lucky number 13. Hey, the Bills aren't going to lose this week.
Yes, well, about that. Can you lose on a bye week? Yes, you can.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Not good news coming out. Yeah, I mean, not the way you want to start bye week. Yeah, I mean, it's not a positive thing, obviously, when you're dealing with any player getting in trouble off the field. And, for any team, that's really bad. Just PR-wise, incident-wise, you don't want anything like that happening to anyone. Right. But then, you got to wait for everything to figure out what really happened. And, is it going to result in legal ramification and all that?
But arrest warrant out for Von Miller in the Dallas area. Looks like there's some allegations that he assaulted his pregnant girlfriend. Everyone's heard about it by now, but if this is your first time hearing about it, that's what we're touching on first. Just
third degree felony, by the way.
Third degree felony.
That's huge, right? That's not. Right. We're not talking about domestic charges here.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. So that's very serious, and it's you got to get him out of the spotlight, right? He's going to be off the team for a while. You got to handle your legal issues, and this one is very serious, and it's out there now. It's there's no way back, right? Von's not going to be with the team the rest of the year. That there's nothing official yet, but that's the way it's trending, and there's so much contract stuff to get through here. He is signed for the next 5 years. It's 5 remaining.
Well, it would be 4 after this year, but yeah.
Right, so including
6-year contract originally, even though it was designed to be 3 and cancel 3, right? So
right. There's rumors that you can get out of the contract in this type of scenario where someone's suspended.
You can get out of the guarantees of the contract.
Guarantees.
You cannot get out of the contract, so there still will be dead money ramifications. Yep. Yes.
Right. But you could
not have to. It would probably lower the number overall because you're not getting the
so
incentivized bonuses, the things that they write in that are usually guaranteed, like the workout bonus or whatever, those types of things. I'm guessing would be the first things eliminated, but you'd still be on the hook for a lot of dead cap money, just like in the other incidents we've seen, the other horrible NFL incidents, like Henry Ruggs or something like that. That's not a good situation either, but the team committed to that and they still get penalized for that incident happening. And again, we don't know the specifics yet about what's happening with Von Miller. Almost guaranteed that he will be on the commissioner's exempt list at the minimum, because that's usually now the protocol standard for what happens when something major happens off the field in terms of arrests or allegations like this.
Which makes sense,
Yeah.
Handle your stuff.
Unpaid, right? They're unpaid.
Don't bring the negative press to the league. Get off the team. Handle your business. Whatever that is, right? In this case, it's really negative, so it's got a lot to work on personally, right? There's no room for football at this point.
Yeah,
but our show is about football. So look, the Bills are not going to have Von Miller. So what's that do for the off-season strategy? What's that going to do for our playoff run? I mean, all those questions pop up.
Well,
we joke that we need a receiver in round 1 of the draft. Does that change now? You got a huge hole.
No.
The future is very uncertain now with Von Miller and the pass rush, right? Because I don't think AJ Epenesa's back, right?
Floyd is a free agent.
He's going to be here long term, and we'll see what happens. I mean, this could, years from now, maybe sometime next year. I'm not going to speculate, but there's a possibility he comes back, but you can't plan for that at this point.
Yeah. And it's hard to look at the future right now. I mean, his playing on the field, we just criticized majorly. I did this week, right? Von Miller has not been effective at all this season. And, for something like this to happen, takes him off the field. That's not the way we wanted it to go down. But him coming off the field right now might be viewed as a good thing for the Bills right now because he was not effective. And I think giving more reps to Epinesa or Kingsley Jonathan or those types of guys would allow for, more effective play right now. But a guy like Vaughn is the type of player you want to have at 100% going into the playoffs, which is what we talked about all along. And now those other guys are going to have to step up and show that they are capable of carrying the team. But to what you alluded to, yeah, I mean, Floyd has probably been our most productive in terms of sacks and everything this season. He's a free agent at the end of the year. We only got him for 1 year, cheap deal. He looks like he's cashing in. 9 sacks last year. I think he's already got 9 this year. It's insane.
Prove it deal, and the deal's proved.
Oh, yeah, he's proof. So either you're going to, in my mind, that's now a position where the Bills are going to have to invest a little more in a free agent, probably, right? You're going to have, whether that means keeping your own guys, Epinesa and Floyd, maybe,
right,
or looking at other options out there and maybe, again, trying to find another cheap veteran to
right. And that's the key word. There's cheap veteran. I don't think the cap space is going to be huge.
Exactly. You don't have a lot to work with.
Your best shot at getting somebody to replace Von Miller and Leonard Floyd is in the draft.
Yes, but I'm still on the wide receiver or bust.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Wide receiver round 1, wide receiver round 2, wide receiver round 3, and then a pass rusher in round 4.
Yeah.
So, we need wide receiver. There's no other question about it, right?
Just what we need, though, another depth piece on the defensive line. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've tried and failed too many times at that. That's why we're,
we have plenty of depth, but
you cannot get away. I don't care.
Blue chip players, right?
I don't care if your top 5 ranked player in the NFL draft happens to be a pass rusher and he falls to you. You are not drafting him because you will get fired like instantly. If Sean McDermott is still here, which I believe he will be, then
he probably gets fired either way.
Before the season starts, you're fired. You did not do what we told you to do and get pieces around Josh Allen.
Right. Well, with this news, you need a blue chip player on the defensive line. Von Miller was supposed to be that guy. Leonard Floyd's filling that role now. Rousseau a little bit maybe. I still think there's room to grow for him.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely.
I thought this would be his breakout year. I thought he'd get double-digit sacks this year.
Well, he's dealing with that injury as well,
right.
And that kind of, has.
But really, the fact that you're looking for a receiver too. You're not going to draft somebody to come and take Diggs' job, right? So
no,
I think the priority now becomes you need to draft defensive line high and take shots at receiver later in the draft. That's my initial thoughts on this, and we're gonna beat this up.
Yeah, postseason. Yeah, right. We're really gonna have a go back and forth, and we'll see how the players fall because these things always reorganize, and there are a lot of receivers that I know people like in this draft class that are going in the second round as well, and maybe that's how it ends up going down. But my God, if you draft a defensive end in round 1 again, it better be the best player the Bills have had since Bruce Smith, because you're not going to get away with that again. You're not. They have to have instant production. None of this, they're developing or, they're not good. No, this guy better be fucking Jesus Christ walking on water when he comes in, because
that'd be nice.
I mean, you can't do that. You can't. You have drafted and failed time after time. I mean, not that Epinesa was a failure, but Boogie Basham in that same draft, you just haven't been able to develop that position the way you wanted to. So to tell Bills Mafia, have faith, we're going to do it again and draft another defensive guy in round 1, and to do that to Josh Allen, and not pick the best wide receiver on the board, that would be, an issue as well.
Yeah, I could see it being a setback. The difference is the past few seasons, as you mentioned, the Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa, the Bills have been losing in the playoffs, so they had a later draft pick, right? So you're getting guys like Greg Rousseau who can develop into something, but needs a year, needs 2 years. That's been the strategy. But I think
I loved him in that draft.
Right now, the Bills are at 16th in the draft, subject to change, right? Could go higher, could go lower with the schedule. But I think at 16, you're in that conversation. You could get somebody to contribute,
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Those two positions will without a doubt be the two strongest, and in a way they already were. They before this Von Miller news, before we thought Gabe Davis wasn't going to be here. Those were still two positions that Bills fans and the Bills team knew that would need to be addressed this year, and I think. They're still going to be the top two positions. It's just a matter of which one you pick first and who's still on the board and who they like. And yeah, maybe they will hit with a wide receiver in round 2. But again, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Sean McDermott and that team if they do not pick a wide receiver in round 1. A lot more pressure in my mind. So
there's pressure regardless at this
Yeah.
point because I was thinking about this when I was listening to a show earlier, and Josh Allen outgrew Sean McDermott. It's interesting because like Sean McDermott's so gritty. He I don't think there's any coach that's better to flip a culture or to bring a bad team to a good team.
Yeah.
Right. He's so good at that. And it's, we've seen
Agreed.
that. We loved him for that. Right. We still do, but now it's like Josh Allen's like in this elite class of quarterback. It's like, the quarterback outweighs the coach. I don't think McDermott will ever get Josh Allen, the most out of Josh Allen compared to somebody else out there. Right. At the end of the day, it's like, well, you need someone to come in and just manage Josh, and the team needs to be built around Josh, right? So I kind of get those vibes of you can have it both ways. Like, okay, Sean McDermott's a great coach. He's really good at what he does, but it's just not a good fit at this point for where this team's going in the next 5 seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. And that's part of the problem with what I'm trying to say too, alluding to with the draft is, as Sean McDermott is a defensive coach and he's focused on the defense and he's done all that, we have not seen improvement from that, right? We need to see improvement. And part of that strategy is the, Eric Brown strategy, as I'll call it, right?
No,
What you've been saying to do for 3 years now, right?
Yeah. You gotta
forget the defense. Forget the defense. Draft around Josh Allen and make it work, right?
Like the mission statement for the team, in my opinion, should be Josh Allen needs to break the touchdown record. A single season passing touchdowns. You got an extra game.
Yeah.
The guy's more than capable.
Yes.
Like every year he's the top 3, right, in touchdown passes. Not even mentioning the legs. That's a whole different category. But why isn't the strategy to get Josh Allen the touchdown record? And I think even if you come up short from the record, you go all in on that strategy. We're going to bring in the best talent we can on offense to go for it. You come up short, you still might get a Super Bowl out of it, or you're still going to have exciting games. Right. You're going to be a contender because they just don't make humans like Josh Allen.
Exactly.
Or Pat Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
I think that's part of the problem. Again, they're reluctant to do that. Whether it's Bean, McDermott, they're not doing that.
They're staying the course.
Yes, right.
They're not realizing that Josh Allen is like this next level quarterback that you need.
Right.
The hell with the plan before.
Yes, this is now your plan because he is that elite. I agree.
I agree. After much thought, you know how I am. The news will come out, the opinions come out. I always wait, kind of feel out myself. What do I really feel about this? And that's it. It's like they've gone with this defensive blue collar team, right? And they've been building around that, and it's a good story. They're competitive, but man, Josh Allen just has outgrown that. The blue collar thing, right? He's now next level. You got to build around offense. You got to do all you can.
Yes.
To get the quarterback a ring.
Yes. Yeah. And I agree. That's part of and their reluctancy to do that. They focus on team. Like you said, Sean McDermott is a culture guy, a team guy. Oh, we got to build the team. No, forget the team. It's Josh Allen, right? That's who you should be building around. And yes, everybody matters on the team. I'm not trying to say make him be some diva or whatever, but Sean McDermott's approach is not to go all in with your best player. It's to make the players all around him better and then try and make that what leads him. And that's not necessarily working to improve. It's working for wins and, going forward, except this season now that he's at 500. But it's worked for Sean McDermott. We've seen success. We've seen divisional, wins and all that. But it's something has to change. And part of my criticism of McDermott is he has not learned to change. He has not learned from his mistakes. So I'm sure, that would lead me toward believing they're going to draft defense in the first and second round.
Right. And the league's changing. The league has changed rapidly. Right. And Sean McDermott's very much part of the old world. Defensive coach, we're going to beat you with defensive scheme. We're about to talk about it, but all the defensive coaches in the league are on the hot seat, except for like a handful, right? Like, okay, Mike Tomlin, even if you consider him a defensive head coach at this point, I think he's safe, right? DeMeco Ryans and for the Houston Texans is safe.
Mm-hmm. New hire. Yeah.
That's about it, right? Think about the rest of the defensive coaches around the league. Think about it. They're all on the hot seat.
Right. We've already obviously exhausted McDermott. I mean, in our own division, you've got Sala, who's on the hot seat as well with what's going on with the Jets and that mess. Now, I don't think either one of those ends up getting chopped. Either one of those
No,
would probably surprise me based on the
They're not having
circumstances of
success,
the season.
you know.
But no, yeah, they're still bottom of the, not
You know,
reaching even expectations, right? If you're talking about exceeding expectations, I would say every single one of the coaches who's exceeding expectations, my expectations, has been an offensive coach, right?
right.
I did think the Texans have a roster that's good enough to be where they are. That's the only reason I say that. So maybe for some, the Texans are in that conversation too. But defensively, no. I mean, the Steelers are just doing what we know Mike Tomlin is able to do, right? They're staying around 500. They're staying in playoff contention. They're keeping their names there. They're built on good defense. They could score 10 points and win games, right? Like that's what they do.
And that's
but
what
that's
the
not,
Patriots did for a long time, you know. But
yeah,
even Bill Belichick's on the hot seat and not having success. You know,
that's
it's just the league has changed. It favors the offense so much that, you know, if you want to be a competitor for the Super Bowl, like realistically, you got to go offensive coach. You have to.
it seems that way, and it'll be interesting to see this hiring cycle. I think it was Adam Schefter who said he's expecting about 10 coaches to be fired this season, so new coaches be hired, and it'll be interesting. If I had to guess, I'd probably say 9 out of 10 of those at least will be offensive-minded head coaches. And that is interesting too, because that means a guy
in 3 years, right?
That means a guy like Joe Brady is a hot commodity to become a head coach, right? That's where these guys are coming from. Offensive coordinators with little experience are getting head coaching positions because that's the direction the league is going. Give the younger guys the chance and, see where it goes. And then you've got guys like Eric Bieniemy, who's been a coordinator and tried to get a head coach job multiple times. Maybe this is the year if something opens up like that.
Well, I was going to ask you too. Is there a defense in the league that can win the Super Bowl who's a contender on just defense, in your opinion? So really, like the Steelers.
The Steelers, yeah, that's
they win the Super Bowl though. I don't think they have a shot at the Super Bowl.
I mean, they're going to eventually. The offense is going to catch up with them because they don't do anything good,
Well,
right?
The playoffs
one thing,
right? You got to play Pat Mahomes in Kansas City,
right? So that's what I mean. Strategically, what we have seen work is a team that can only do one thing, right? You have the best running back in the league, the worst quarterback, and the best defense. You can win a Super Bowl. You can win a Super Bowl with that.
In today's
Absolutely.
NFL?
I think so, because you just need to do what you do well, right? You rely on what you do well. If your defense is that good and you can do something on offense, you can win.
I guess San Francisco is a good example.
Pittsburgh can't do anything good on offense, so I don't think they're going to compete. I don't think they're going to win a playoff game.
Yeah, right. Like the days of the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens, literally winning on defense. I don't think it'll ever happen again.
Or the Seahawks, right? They won one the same way, right? It's
Marshawn Lynch, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, Hasselbeck wasn't exactly a a brand name quarterback in his day, but he did a lot with them because they had a good running back and they had a good defense, right? That was what kept them afloat. Again, that NFL isn't even the same as it is now. So short, we're not talking, really long time ago. We're talking recent past for us anyway. Maybe for the youngins, that's far a long way, but it's the NFL is different these days. And I do think you have to, it is necessary to be good at something on offense. Most of the time in the league, that means you can pass, right? If you can't run the ball at all, but you can pass, you probably have a better chance than most.
Right.
And then your defense obviously has to be good enough. I mean, we've seen the Chiefs get by with good enough defense and really good offense and situational defense that makes big plays when it counts. You have to have names there, which is why I think the Bills, getting back to the Bills, connecting this, right? If next year you go into the tandem with Terrell Bernard, who's come on strong, and Matt Milano, I don't give a crap who's playing safety, right? I don't care. That's one of the bigger positions of need for the Bills as well. If you think about the aging Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, right? I don't care. Just go all in with those two guys, and that's good enough to keep your defense afloat, to make big plays, to do what they need to do. Now, we know they're not going to put scrubs back there, right, at safety and corner. And even now, corner, even without Trey White, looks a little more stable, at least. that's a good sign for a defense, right? If we don't have the best pass rushers, our linebackers, our
Right.
cornerbacks can
That's,
at least hang in there with that.
and that's why Sean McDermott would be the best coordinator in the league, because he can take a 7th-round pick and make him a starter, an effective
Correct.
starter. We've seen it over and over again. Matt Milano, 4th or 5th round guy,
5th
right?
round. Yep,
Yeah,
5th.
so,
That's my guy,
it's
Matt Milano.
oh, yeah. But it's, you just see it over and over again, and that's kind of the modern defense, right? We're gonna put all our money on offense
Mhm,
and our
mhm.
assets on offense, but we just need you to be good enough with limited talent. That screams Sean McDermott to me.
Yep.
But yeah, then the strategy has to change, because they've been drafting defense for the past, the whole time that McDermott's been here. The vast majority of 1st-round picks have been defense, and you could argue with a quarterback like Josh Allen, that set them back.
Yeah, exactly, right. That's why the Eric Brown strategy is now is now relevant, because they
Yes.
do. They need to build around Josh Allen. They don't need to keep focusing on the defense. And like you said, I think it highlights it even more that Sean McDermott is able to get more out of late round picks and guys who, were overlooked, and he sees something and can get it out of them. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. It's got to happen now, because, they might pull the plug for that reason. You're too late. You might be too late. So that'll be interesting to see, and really a lot of games left to play. I think
Still in
if
it.
you had to guess now, Sean McDermott's back next year or now?
Yes, 100%. Right now, I don't think I think that I just don't trust that Pagula has what it takes to make a decision like, bam, okay, this is not what's right for us right now.
Right, and it's not your typical GM head coach relationship. We know Sean and
Correct.
Brandon Beane are close. It seems like they get fired together, or you keep them both, right?
Correct.
It doesn't seem like they'd get rid of one.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't think you would fire Beane. You would fire McDermott. I certainly think there's plenty of build up now and momentum and evidence for firing McDermott. I just don't think that Pagula and the organization is ready to make that move.
And Sean's
Not
been
yet.
a great coach. It's just he's a product of the old world.
Exactly.
And that's it. And it ends there, right? The league's changed so much, we can't go this way anymore.
And I think the GMs can adapt easier, right? If you were a GM who focused on, overall team and defense, whatever, you can catch on and be like, you know what? We need to get this guy and go offense and build around this Josh Allen without a problem, right? So I don't think Beane is in jeopardy at all, but
No,
McDermott
he found
certainly
Josh Allen,
is.
right?
And
it's a lot of credit.
I don't think Beane is going to be, or I don't think McDermott will be fired either. I think they'll both be here.
Yeah. Well, the bigger bummer is, you let Brian Daboll walk, and they had no control to,
yeah, of course.
I'm just saying, like, you had a great offensive head coach in the building who's winning games with a 3rd-string quarterback now, mind you. So it's just interesting how the league's changed, because we started with these losses and you start hearing the rumors about Sean McDermott. You start looking into it and you realize, like, oh man, it's like the whole league's like this. Like, all defensive head coaches are struggling this year, with the exception of a handful.
I mean, obviously, who else haven't we mentioned? I guess the Chargers, obviously, right? That's another one.
All of them.
He's just a sitting duck. He's going to be fired. So that's
every defensive head coach. Chicago, Commanders. It's the list is huge.
Oh yeah. So those two are, geez, and there's not many of them. I mean, there's more offensive now than defensive.
Right, well, here we go.
And most of the firings are going to be defensive, right?
Right. Even the Saints coach, 5-6. Right. We thought they'd be better with Derek Carr. The Bears, obviously, the Commanders. I mean, the Cardinals, first year guy, but defensive coach. You have Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I definitely think the Commanders will change with the ownership change. That's going to happen. Chicago is leaning that way, it seems, because they are probably going to be in a more total rebuild mode with the picks that they've acquired in the top 10 for sure. Let's see who else is defensive on that list. The Saints is certainly a possibility. I'm looking at NFC first here. It's even even the Packers are a team that could fire their coach, but
he's offensive though. That's an offensive.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I was looking at like, could they be fired, and then are they
who's
defensive?
on the hot seat?
Correct. Yeah. So of how many? But now switching over the AFC. I mean, we've already talked about New England and the Jets. New England, that's a crap show there. We don't know what's really going on.
The fact that Matt
Belichick.
Patricia had more production on offense than Bill O'Brien is not talked about enough, really.
We thought last year was the
Yeah.
most atrocious thing, and they somehow got worse.
It's been very quiet in New England on that front. But yeah,
And
the Jets get an exception because of their quarterback issue.
Yes.
But the offense has been horrible. I mean, it's like a lot of people could do better than that. You know what I mean? Like letting Zach Wilson play too long. Should have pulled the plug earlier.
But was that an ownership thing? We don't really know.
And that's the problem. That could be some of the
Saleh
problems.
is I think he's more safe again going into this, but he could be fired, and it would be surprising.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, they're not having success. Defense, you're not winning. Jets are a great example. They kind of were playing on winning games on just defense early in the season, but it falls apart because the league favors offense so much. You just can't win with defense anymore. You can't do it. The Steelers are the only exception on the Cleveland Browns.
And they're certainly
but are we convinced that they're good teams, or is it just a product of the schedule, or playing good early? I mean,
exactly.
A lot of football left, right? But
I mean, you're talking about two of the best defenses in the NFL too, and they're still at the bottom of the playoff chart, and we don't really know if they're going to be contenders at the end. So, I mean, one of those teams is likely to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
but it's still it's dangerous territory
there.
But
if you want to model why an offensive coach is good for today's NFL, just look at the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
Quarterback goes down. They struggled early. They're back at 500. They're in the playoffs with Josh Dobbs. I mean, it's just that's what you got to look at and go. Yeah, I mean, if that guy coaches Josh Allen, it's a whole different story, a whole different strategy. But that's today's NFL. The success that Miami's having with Tua, with Mike McDaniel, I mean, that's today's NFL. Those are the new models. And Kansas City's been there. They've been the model for years. You know what I mean? Anyway, enough on that topic. All right, let's look at the playoff picture real quick here. Just going to run through it before we get into our picks. We have a great game here Thursday night. But the AFC right now, Baltimore is the 1 seed, Kansas City 2. Jacksonville leads the AFC South. Miami leads the AFC East. The 3 wildcard teams are the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Browns, Colts in that order. Colts are 7. Texans, Broncos, who play this weekend, have the pick coming up for you. Bills and Bengals are on the outside looking in. Philadelphia Eagles, number 1 in the NFC. San Francisco, number 2. Detroit's atop the NFC North. Atlanta's atop the NFC South. For the moment, they're tied with the Saints.
With a losing record, by the way.
5 and 6. Dallas, Seahawks, Vikings are the wildcard teams in that order. And then outside looking in, barely, the Packers, Rams, Saints.
Yeah, the NFC is much more of a mess. The teams in the hunt and even one in the playoffs, Atlanta, have losing records. The Giants at 4-8 are still in the playoff picture hunt, right? And actually, this what I think I sent you earlier in the week. The Carolina Panthers are 1-10. They're still in playoff hunt because their division is so bad.
Well, the new format is
sad.
It's more fun that way, right? And we're speaking from a team that missed the playoffs 17 years in a row.
Yeah.
It's like it is like they would have made the playoffs one of those years.
Oh, at least 2. We finished actually at least
probably the Doug Marrone year they'd be in at 9-7.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? We missed the playoffs as the first team out at least twice. I think
so
maybe 3 times.
The new format's better for that, right? The season, the entertainment lasts longer, right? Because your team's still in the hunt. And more teams get in. So you get to see a playoff game, and we know that's a different level. It's so much more fun. You know what I mean? So I think it's good. It's been good so far, in my opinion. All right, let's get into it, though. We have the Thursday night game. Seattle at Dallas. We're just going to touch on this. Seattle plus 9.5 at Dallas. Seattle needs this more.
They do. And especially, you see the playoff picture. They're both in there as wild card teams. However, Dallas is looking like more of a lock to make the playoffs, whereas Seattle, injuries have built up, couple of bad losses. They need to rebound and find a way to get victories that they're not favored in. So this is a big matchup for them. Both these teams played on Thanksgiving, so they both had a week to prepare tonight, which makes it kind of more of an even matchup than usual. But I do think Dallas is just the better team right now. They're clicking better. The injuries are still there for Seattle. No Kenneth Walker again tonight. So I'm picking Dallas to win and Dallas with the -9.5. So Seattle, I'm hoping, I'm cheering for them to win. Certainly I want Seattle to play well. But I think that Dallas is going to prove to be a tough matchup with their defense and the injuries and everything to Seattle.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Seattle's still in the mix for the division. Dallas actually is too. They're only, 2 games back, but still, it just seems like Philadelphia is just going to run away with it. I think Seattle shows up and plays a good game, and I think it's close. So I'm going to take Dallas to win, but I would take Seattle with the points. All right, first matchup on Sunday, Detroit Lions at the New Orleans Saints. Big playoff implications for this, right? Saints at 5-6. They're 1 game out. They're basically tied with the Falcons for the division. Falcons get the head-to-head. Detroit now kind of stumbling a little bit, but they were in the number 1 seed conversation for a while. They're still at the top. It's all there for them if they want it. Detroit -4.5 at New Orleans. Who you got?
I think that Detroit is going to have a bounce back game here. They really need another win to show, hey, we are legit after falling to their rivals last week. New Orleans has certainly been more vulnerable in recent weeks, even though they're, still by most means healthy. They just haven't been living up to expectations. And this is a tough matchup for them, even though it's at home for the Saints. I think the Lions offense and defense is going to come out as hungry as we've seen them all season. And that's going to mean something for that team, especially against an opponent like the Saints, who's been vulnerable. So I'm picking the Lions to win this game pretty handedly, maybe by 10 points or so. So I like this line of Detroit -4.5. And although New Orleans has their strengths and, Alvin Kamara and Carr and their weapons there, Olave is injured. We don't know his status yet, obviously.
Questionable.
But yes, he got injured and was taken out of the game last week. But we'll see if he's able to go in this one. But even if he is, they've been underproductive really since Michael Thomas left. I don't know if maybe Thomas was the one that Carr was building more chemistry with, and once he left, that's been a void for sure for them. Olave's been a lot of the action, but there's nobody next to him as the number 2 guy, pretty much stepping up into that role. Give me the Lions big time. I like their weapons to bounce back in this, especially with their run game and, their pass game.
Right. Yeah, Montgomery back healthy, and that's a big part of their offense and what they want to do, right? They want to establish the run, and, Goff's really great at play action. But it seems like that's clicking. We've had the interceptions with Goff recently, but I think it's a bounce back league. Always believe that. I think the Lions have been getting a little scrutiny, so they're going to show up and handle this game like they're supposed to. You want to be a good team. This is what good teams do. So I'll take the Lions. All right, Atlanta Falcons at the New York Jets. Atlanta's -1.5, traveling to New York. How are we feeling about this?
The Jets are just the Jets at this point, right? 2 horrible defensive performances for them, despite them being a strong defensive team. Their offense still can't seem to get things going. The Falcons backed into that division lead right now, but I still think they find a way to claw their way to victory in this one. And, given that the line is only 1.5, it's basically like a pick 'em. I'm taking the Falcons -1.5. I think the Jets are just going to struggle to put up an offensive production, and the Falcons are going to hopefully lean into what they can do and run the ball and, find some balance in the pass game. So give me the Falcons here.
Yeah, it's funny because these teams are only a game difference in record, but the Falcons are atop their division, and the Jets are clearly got no shot at the division, right? So really for the Jets, it feels like they're deflated, right? They can't figure out the quarterback thing. Zach Wilson set him back. The new 3rd-string quarterback, set him back. It doesn't seem like there's anything promising there. So I just think the Jets are good. They're kind of at the back end of the season to say, like, yeah, whatever. So give me the Falcons. They still have something to play for. I think they win this one. All right, Colts at the Tennessee Titans, AFC South matchup. Colts right in the mix, right? Sitting at the number 7 spot. Win, you're in. and Indianapolis is -1.5 at Tennessee.
Yeah, certainly in terms of being a Bills fan, I would love to see Tennessee win this game and just knock the Colts down a peg to help us out a little bit. However, I am picking with my mind and not my heart, so I think the Colts are going to win this game, and the line is only -1.5. So they've been able to get enough production out of Gardner Minshew. Again, this team is like the weird team that just finds a way to hang around. They're not very good on offense. They're not very good on defense, but they're good enough on both to end up winning games against inferior opponents, and doing enough and not stumbling over themselves enough to be in that playoff spot right now. And the Titans, as we know, are definitely in full, give up mode, basically. Although they still have Henry and they still have weapons and, are trying to figure out what they have at quarterback. It's, I think, favors the Colts and their momentum and their energy right now. So I'll pick the Colts, but hope that the Titans pull it off.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because Jonathan Taylor now goes out with getting thumb surgery, going to miss some time. This one could really go either way, in my opinion, but I think I'll take the Tennessee Titans at home just because it's a division rival game. You see each other a lot. The Titans certainly don't want the Colts to have success, and I think as long as Derrick Henry's playing and healthy, they got a chance. They did win last week. You can build off that here and get Will Levis going, right? That's what you want to see. So I think Will Levis could step up and do what he needs to do for this team to get a win. Maybe I'm hopeful. Anyway, the other AFC matchup with huge playoff implications, the Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans. Denver's +3.5 at Houston. This, to me, right, this seems like a huge mismatch as far as quarterbacks. See, the way CJ Stroud's playing and Russell Wilson playing it safe. I mean, he's been coming back lately, I understand, but man, he plays it so safe now.
Yes.
I immediately want to take the Texans just on that thought alone.
Yes, and the Texans are playing at home, right, which is a big factor in this one for me. I think if this game were in Denver, I might feel a little bit differently about it or might think it's going to be closer. But with this, I'm taking Houston -3.5 because I do think that playing at home will be the factor that allows them to take advantage. And yeah, again, when you're talking about offensive weapons and production, right now I like the Texans a lot better than the Broncos in terms of what is safe to bet on, right? And although the Broncos have been the hottest team in football, they've been getting it by the skin of their teeth, right? Every game has been down to the wire. And, and like you said, I haven't seen a lot out of Russell Wilson to say he's elite or he's coming back. No, he's able to elude and find the wide open guy. And I think the Texans are going to play defense good enough to stop that. And their offense is really what I'm focused on. I think their run game, CJ Stroud in the past game, their offensive weapons. I think this game's going to be a higher scoring game than most think. And I'll take the Texans, my team that I've been relying on all year. No Bills game this week, so this will be my game of the week here. I'll take the Texans -3.5.
Yeah, I like the Texans at home. I think they kind of lost a heartbreaking game last week versus the Jaguars, so I think it's a bounce back week for the Texans. It's a big opportunity to show everyone, hey, we're supposed to be here. Look at our quarterback. Our defense is playing well. Let's do this. All right, next one here. We have the New England Patriots at the LA Chargers. Who gets fired first, Staley or Belichick? What's your opinion?
Definitely Staley. It's just a matter of time. So I don't know when, and this game does not make me feel good that it's going to be this week unless you can fire a coach after a win, because New England is just all sorts of screwed up right now, and we all know it, right? But the Chargers just are underperforming as usual, it seems, right? And unfortunately, I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Somebody has to win this game, and I think that's going to be the Chargers. And I think they're going to win by less than 5.5. So I'm taking New England with the points. It probably is going to be a field goal game, and it's probably going to be a final score of like 17-13 or something, So I'll take New England with the points, but the Chargers to win the game.
Yeah, I think Zappy's the starter. Mac Jones, is he going to get benched again? I mean, we take the over-under on how many times he gets benched this year.
Yeah.
I think it's been 5.
Word was that Zappy was taking the first team snaps this week.
Yeah, so that spells disaster for me, right? We've seen Zappy. It's nothing special, right? You have no options. I think Justin Herbert just makes enough plays to win this game. And like you said, low scoring, but Chargers get the win. All right, Miami traveling to Washington to play the Commanders. Miami minus 9.5 at Washington. This one to me feels like upset alert, right? Because look, the Commanders have played a lot of games really tough this year, and they come up just short. Their quarterback's leading the league in passing yards, Sam Howell. I know there's turmoil, right? Where it's firing coordinators and head coach is probably gone, so that doesn't help their situation. But the way the Commanders really they have a solid team all the way around. Could they upset the Miami Dolphins? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are pretty much the same as when the Dolphins played the Raiders. Can it happen? Yes. Would it surprise me if it happened? No, but I'm not predicting it to happen because I just don't think you can trust Washington to do that. So I'm picking Miami to win the game, but 9.5 is a little bit too big of a spread for me. I think 7 or 8 might be it. Yeah. So I'll take Washington with the 9.5, but I think that Miami finds a way to win this game. You know, they haven't been terrorizing opponents the way that everybody thought when they scored 70 that they were going to, right? But this is, you know, still good enough to beat an inferior team like Washington in my mind.
And Miami should go in there and win, right?
That's absolutely
what they do. But yeah, the Commanders played good early on, but the last 2 games getting blown out. Giants blew them out. Cowboys blew them out. They're due, right? And we'll see how they react. Is it going to be, you see this. You see players rally for their coaches, in this case, new coordinator, and get the upset, or they just roll over and let the season go and blow it up at the end of the year. So Miami should come in here and win this handedly, but it's kind of a big line here. Yeah. I think I'll take Miami just to play it safe, but something about the Commanders though has me second guessing it. All right, Cardinals at Steelers, Arizona plus 5.5 at Pittsburgh. Must win for Pittsburgh.
I don't know if it's must win for Pittsburgh, but it's definitely a must lose. Pittsburgh must lose to help the Bills, right? So I would put it in that category, right? So the Cardinals are playing better since Kyler Murray came back. They actually look like they can produce on offense. However, the Steelers' defense is pretty elite. They're there for a reason, but their offense is pathetic. So I am actually favoring Arizona in this game. I think that Arizona gets the win and that they're getting 5.5. So I really like that as well. And it's just for the pure fact of what I said. The Steelers are going to hold them to maybe 17 points. But am I confident that the Steelers can score more than 17 points? No, not at all. Even against a bad Cardinals defense. And I think that's going to help the Cardinals hang into this game and win it by a close score. But with the points, I'll take the Cardinals, and I desperately hope and think that they're going to get the win.
Even with them flying to Pittsburgh across the country.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm taking the Steelers, right? It's the same story. They're going to win by a touchdown. They're going to play good defense. They're going to do just enough on offense. And that's it, right? And they get another win. They'll be 8-4. All right, Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carolina plus 5.5 at Tampa Bay. Any chance here the Carolina Panthers can win this game for the interim head coach?
Yes, there's that coaching bump, right? You fired your head coach, you win your next game. Unfortunately for the Bucs, that means, Carolina is going to come out and give it their all. Now, whether they actually win the game or not might be close, but I do expect that they're going to have a production bump here. They've kind of been on the cusp of it with what they have, not to win games, but to look like a legitimate team. So I do think, and the Bucs are trending in the wrong direction, right? We've seen them go from contender to getting their butts beat lately. And I think that's going to roll over into this game for them. So Tampa Bay is going to come in flat. Carolina is going to come in on a high. And I think that favors Carolina. So this is another one where I think Carolina is going to win the game. And I'm taking them with the 5.5. It'll be a close game in my mind. So maybe Carolina doesn't win, but with the 5.5, I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, I just don't see, they rally around the coach, but who are you going to win the game with? They don't really have anyone.
Chuba!
Trust me, I got him on my fantasy team. He's not capable. It's not going to happen. So I just think Tampa Bay, you know, they make a play or two and get the win in this one. So give me Tampa Bay.
Okay. Who's their quarterback again?
Exactly, but who's the receivers? Is a better question.
Okay.
Yeah, but Tampa's been historically bad in the run game.
They haven't been able to do
That's
anything.
the reason they're out of it, right? Here we go. Game of the week, the San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. San Francisco -2.5 at Philadelphia. This one has me kind of going back and forth because Philadelphia is the better team, in my opinion.
Yes.
But the way they've been playing the last 4 or 5 weeks, they take quarters off. They take halves off. And I feel like the San Francisco 49ers, you know, they can come at you with all kinds of different looks. They're going to wear you down in the run game. McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. You just can't take a half off versus the 49ers. So I'm going to take San Francisco in this game to win on the road. And I think that's going to wake the Philadelphia Eagles up. But I think San Francisco comes in there and beats them.
Yeah, we're on the same page with this one actually, and I didn't think that would be the case because this is the toughest matchup of the week by far. Top 2 teams in the NFC, top 2 teams you could argue in the NFL. I think the Eagles are the better team, and they're playing at home. The line is a little funny on this one. Usually in tight matchups, the home team gets like an advantage, or it's like, you know, +1, -1. -2.5 does seem a little steep, and I think at one point it was also -3. And I'm picking San Francisco for all the reasons you said. I think that they're a more complete team in playing start to finish, and the Eagles have kind of faltered for at least a half in a lot of the games this season and found a way to come back and win, to their credit. But the San Francisco team is going to be able to adjust as well and do what they do well. So I look for San Francisco to be the best versions of themselves and the Eagles not to be now. However, this was my NFC championship prediction, and I did pick the Eagles to win that. And I still think if it were a matchup in the playoffs, I would take the Eagles. However, right now, I think exactly what you said. San Francisco grinds out a win, finds a way to beat them, and gives a little bit of a reality check to the Eagles. And maybe this is their wake-up call moment that, hey, we need to be ready for every game.
Right. The Eagles have been coming off some close games, Kansas City, Buffalo. It catches up to you over time, right? So I think San Francisco just comes in with more energy and gets this win. All right. 3 more to go. First one up, Cleveland Browns at the LA Rams. Cleveland's +3.5 at LA.
Yeah. Traveling to LA, a healthy Stafford now, a healthy Cooper Kupp, the Browns not really having an offense to speak of. I like the Rams in this one. I just think the travel to LA, the Rams having their more formidable guys ready to go. I think that they're going to do enough to win this game by a touchdown. So give me the Rams -3.5. And this one would also help the Bills a little bit. So call me a Rams fan for this one as well.
Yeah, this one just feels like Cleveland's going to go there and their time of possession is going to be more. Their defense is going to play better. But the Rams are just going to score more points, right? Because that's just kind of what they do. They don't really dominate an area, but McVay dials something up to give them points. And that's really – Cleveland's not going to – they don't play that type of game. They want to keep it low, win with a touchdown or a field goal, less than 20 points. And I just think the Rams can squeeze out some points in this one, so give me the Rams. All right, another good matchup here. We have the Kansas City Chiefs going to Lambeau Field to play the Green Bay Packers. Kansas City -6 going into Green Bay. Green Bay's been playing a lot better lately. And really this comes down to, can Jordan Love play mistake-free football? And I think the Packers could surprise the Chiefs here. What do you think?
I think they could, but I don't think they will, right? So the Packers have been doing well against inferior NFC opponents and division rivals. The Lions are a good team who they beat last week, but they've also looked horrible against some teams. And I think this is a bad matchup for Green Bay in that sense, right? Kansas City has a really good defense. They're capable on offense, and I just think I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs, I think, for the rest of the season, probably, but except for when they play the Bills. But and 6 points is like borderline, so I'm not betting this game. because I think Kansas City wins it for sure, but 6 points is too close for me. I think they could win by a touchdown, but more likely that 3-4 point range. So I'll take Green Bay with the points, but Kansas City to win.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a close game, and it's going to come down to like a few drives in the fourth quarter, right? And in those drives, like, okay, Kansas City, they make magic, right? Andy Reid will dial something up. Mahomes will make an amazing play. Like Green Bay can't do that right now. Aaron Jones still facing injury. It's been the story all year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got young receivers there. I love Christian Watson, but when the defense keys on him, who do you turn to? There's just not. They really are still trying to figure out their identity, it seems like. Their identities play good defense and play mistake-free, but that's not enough when you play the Chiefs, right? So I'll take the Chiefs, or I'll take Green Bay with the points and then Chiefs to win. All right, Cincinnati Bengals at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cincinnati plus 8.5 at Jacksonville.
Yeah.
What do you think? 8.5 is pretty high.
This is the road to the 1 seed, right? So I'm taking Jacksonville to win the game, and I think they will win it by 10 or more points. So I'm taking them minus the 8.5. The Bengals, again, just unfortunate that they've been injured this year and they haven't been able to play to their potential. But they're also just running into it. This would be a great matchup if both teams were healthy, and I still might pick the Jaguars in that situation. However, with them not being healthy, the Bengals, I just think the Jaguars are going to capitalize on that and play their best on both offense and defense to be able to get a win, and it's at home for them. So that's why I think that 10 points is the minimum bar for me in this one, and I think that they're capable of doing that. So give me the Jags. This is a big one for their march to that number 1 seed.
Yeah, I think 8.5 is too high, in my opinion. I think this is a 4-point game, 3-point game. Cincinnati's defense is still good, right? They can still run the football. And in Jacksonville, they're kind of high and low. We don't really know what they're going to be, right? High or low.
That's true.
It could be a low game. So I'm gonna take Jacksonville to win, Cincinnati with the points, 16-10 type game.
There you go.
That's it. All the other teams are on bye, so not as many games this week, but lots of Bills news to talk about to fill that time. So Bills on bye. So next week, Tuesday, we'll be coming at you. We'll recap the events from around the league, recap some of the games. So be sure to tune in for that. And then we'll get you ready for Kansas City. Buffalo travels to Kansas City next week. Be sure to tune in.
Yes, and as always, thanks for kicking it with us. Enjoy the bye week.